Why are you laughing, man?
I'm part of the conversation.
We're happy to be here talking to you in the New York Times and all that. But we're really here because we're hoping to get on the cover of ARP.
This is The Interview. I'm David Marchese, and this week we have a first for the show. I'm talking with a family. That's Mandy Patinkin, his wife of 45 years, Kathryn Grody, and their son, Gideon Grody-Patinkin. Mandy you probably know as Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
He also played Saul in Homeland and is a Tony Award-winning actor in Broadway musical theater. Kathryn is an award-winning actress, too, for her off-Broadway work, and she's also a playwright and an author. So this is a highly accomplished couple, but that's not why I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to talk to them because during the pandemic, they became TikTok famous for a series of videos filmed by their son, Gideon. And these videos showed the Patinkins at home together, arguing with each other.
I'm not elderly. This is not elderly.
And I think it's safe to say that a lot of people online fell in love with them.
Our 42nd anniversary yesterday began lovely and then turned into an absolute shit show fight.
Their family life clearly resonates with people, so much so that they've recently started working on an advice podcast. And they've also made a TV pilot of a show that's based on a heightened version of their own life, and it's called Seasoned. I talked to Mandy and Kathryn about what it's like to become social media stars in their 70s, about Jewish identity today, and also about building a family. And Gideon came along too, both to help me wrangle his parents and also to provide some useful perspective. Here's my conversation with the Grody-Patinkin family.
Thank you all for being here. This is the biggest group I've ever interviewed before. To have a family also is very nice.
You need to take some medication?
I might.
Very good.
Maybe at the end. Maybe we'll see how it goes.
You.
So in the social media post where you said you were working on an advice podcast, Mandy, you referred to you two as messes.
Yes.
Kathryn, do you think that you're messes?
Oh, definitely. We're, what do you call purposeful messes? I mean, it's interesting. I embrace being messy more than I ever have as a reaction against the whole AI, chatbot, algorithm world. It's like I want to be messy, I want to be human, I want to make mistakes, I want to apologize, I want to be tactile, So yeah, we're messes.
You're holding a cup. You can't gesticulate freely in your natural.
Thank you.
I want to just say
I couldn't talk because I didn't have my hands.
How would you talk without your
I
hands?
just want to say at the beginning, speaking of mess, I'm also a mess, emotionally a mess. And I lost a friend, and the memorial was on Monday. I needed to speak, and I was extremely anxious about it, and it was very emotional, and the stress was intense, and that's why I have this cold sore on my lip, which no matter what, it's not going to be hidden. So I'm sorry, I'm a member of Spinal Tap.
Right, yes. There's a scene, so for people who don't know, there's a scene in Spinal Tap where all the members of the band
have cold sores.
But also, you lean into it, thank you.
So back to her mess.
Yes.
I mean, by mess, I just mean we're not careful with each other. We're all well, he's not reactive, and our older son is not reactive, because I think in reaction to seeing us be so immediately hysterical about things their whole lives, they've learned to embrace taking a breath. But it's funny, over the years when I tried to contain the mess, I now just think it's human, and I'm letting it out.
Gideon, do you think what your mom just described about how your parents' messiness maybe led to a counter or like a particular emotional reaction from you? Does that sound accurate? Is that how you experienced it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they've been great teachers in what to do in the world and what not to do in the world. And I think one of the gifts is I've seen their often hysterical, emotional, painful response to things not be in service of their life and joy. And if they could take a beat, take a moment, and have a little more perspective or gratitude or just air in their lungs, that they'd enjoy their experience a bit more.
What do you think about the idea of your parents making an advice podcast?
Well, I think that idea and experiment, and we're just in the process of making a pilot right now to see what that would be like, is kind of like an outgrowth of the conversations and play we've been having creatively since COVID. And, you know, these two never think they have much interesting to offer. They talk, they respond, and communicate their life experience, and many people find it illuminating and hilarious and bizarre, and they see their own parents in it. But they're the farthest thing from thinking that they'd have any advice to give. One of the potential ideas for the name of it was "Don't Listen to Us," just to clarify that these two don't have any expertise
in anything.
Do you two have a hunch for why people respond so positively to you? What's your thinking?
I have a couple. First of all of this was an accident of the pandemic. People were terrified. They were stuck in their homes. And I think we were unknowingly an antidote to the youth bias in the culture, so that for people that couldn't get to their parents or couldn't get to their grandparents and they were stuck and terrified, one, we seemed to offer some comfort or warmth. And I think it shows that people don't have in general the bias about elders or people with white hair that the culture would think that you do. You know, I've been furious about this for years, since I was like 50, do you know? Because you don't see...
used to, if somebody would offer her a seat on the subway, that was a big mistake. She would tear into them like a really crazy person, but now it's a little different.
I used to pity these people that would try to help her.
No, there was this one woman once. I remember I'd just come from working 2 hours in the gym. You know, I get on the subway, I have my New York Times in one hand, I'm holding on to the bar of the other, and I see this young woman get up, and I actually thought, oh, that's really nice that she notices some older person needing. Is that for me?
Right.
You're standing up for me? I just was at the gym for 2 hours. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm not from New York. I was taught to be nice to all people.
But that was maybe 15 years ago, and now you're like...
Now I'm like, excuse me.
I can't figure it out. I don't understand it.
What the logic is.
The logic of why they would pay attention to us. I mean, there's a lot in this world I don't understand. And that is one of the things, because we're just ourselves.
But it brings it back to the mess that you talked about, David. Mm-hmm. I think that authenticity, we're not selling anything. I have no brand of makeup, obviously.
That's not always true. Sometimes you're selling yourself.
Sometimes
you're selling
what do you mean?
Sometimes I take a little kombucha, you know, like I'm drinking it or something, and then I can't say it right. Then he makes fun of me, and the next thing we know, we get boxes of it.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. Those are happy little accidents where you get a free thing, but you're not sponsoring anything. I mean that we started sharing things with no intention of self-promotion or anything, and that's like a very pure thing. Yeah. And the initial intention was to get more eyeballs on posts about the International Rescue Committee in support of refugees and around the world, which they've always been attached to. But as time goes on and you build a following, then sometimes you do have a project that you're making a post about or sharing. I mean, Mom's got, a play she wrote coming up. So we do... I just want to be truthful when you're like, we're not selling anything. Yeah. But the purity of the initial thing can change.
Yeah, and it has changed. The reason that we're here today, in truth, is we're having a lawn sale, and we're hoping that we'll give the address before it's
Great
over.
items.
Yeah.
We have wonderful items, and we're hoping that people will come. Yeah. Gently used, some broken, but you can get them fixed.
Lovely bench.
Lovely bench. The bench. Oh, don't talk to me about the bench. I'd give that one away. Oh. A bench that she insisted on buying that nobody sits on because it will cripple you instantaneously.
It's really
but
beautiful,
there
and
it
the
sits in the
kids love
center of the
sitting
room.
on it.
The kids don't love sitting
They
on
love
it.
standing
They
on
never
it.
sit on it.
Stop for a second.
They don't.
Feel free to stop them anytime.
Come over, set up a camera, night vision, whatever you want. The children don't sit on the bench.
David, to get you through this family experience, we give you carte blanche to just stop.
No one sits on the bench.
I have to say, even just in the few minutes we've been talking, the way that you two instinctively held each other's hand.
Yeah.
The way that you, Kathryn, patted down Mandy's hair.
What's left?
What's left of Mandy's hair. It's just very sweet. And I'm curious, sort of, how are there ways in which you see your dynamics as having changed over the years? Because the way I often think about it is, it's sort of early in a relationship is when kind of like the dynamics get established, and then it seems to me that things like solidify and everyone plays their roles and there's not a ton of deviation. But I've only been married 14 years, so
baby beginning.
Can you tell me about how your sort of roles with each other have changed or not over time?
You go first.
I think there is so much Sturm und Drang in the beginning of a relationship, do you know? I'm 6 years older than him. I had had 2 serious relationships when I met him. I considered him, the only thing I knew when I was 20, I was going to have a life in the theater. I was going to be a mom, different than my mom, but I was going to be a mom. And I was never going to have anything to do personally with an actor, because I thought one in the family was enough. I was right. At our first date, very first date, he said, before we eat, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to marry you.
Right.
Okay. I had not had coffee with this guy. I really thought he was insane. And I said, well, I don't believe in marriage, so that's not going to happen. 6 weeks later, after we'd been dating, he said, let's just, stop.
Stop dating.
Stop dating. Yeah.
So he went from I'm going to marry you
to let's stop dating.
Okay.
Yeah.
In
I
6
think he
weeks.
wanted to still sleep together, but basically stop having a relationship. It was not my thing. And we went to the...
I don't know if that's true. I'd just like to have my lawyer here for the rest of this conversation. Go ahead.
We went to the reflecting pool at Lincoln Center. And, I said, if you can let go of the future and if I can let go of the past, and we can just be in this moment, let's take it day to day. And here we are 45 years later, It's all that you don't know, David, you know. Am I going to find my person? Then the person you find is totally not who you expected to find. And it's all the unknowns that our rabbi at our wedding said, marriage is a real leap of faith. You don't know. It's like being a parent, too. You hope you'll be a good parent. You hope... if you were lucky enough to have good ones, you'll make some improvements, but who knows? It brings up all sorts of stuff about how you were parented, And just beginning careers and children and figuring out what our differences were, there was just so much high drama and joy and passion, but it was also exhausting.
You asked about what's the trick, what's the secret, why are we together?
Or how the roles that you play with each other either have or haven't changed over time.
Have or haven't changed.
Yeah.
Well, 2 things that I've noticed. One, there were times where things got pretty scary, ugly, frightening. Maybe we made a mistake. We were separated, I think, on 2 occasions. I think once for 6 or 8 weeks, and then once for like 2 or 3 months.
Right, you referred to these
6
periods
or
as
8
the
months.
troubles.
The troubles,
As our troubles,
right?
yeah.
I got it pretty close. But we saw each other every day. We spoke every day. We met at popovers on Columbus every day next to Barney Greengrass. On Amsterdam, next to Barney Greengrass. Every day we were together. We couldn't be apart. And so on our 25th wedding anniversary, she gave me this wedding ring, this silver one, and it has 2 bumps on it to represent our 2 troubles. And from those troubled times, I feel that during the previous times, when somebody said this to me once, and I thought it was pretty, when you can't even watch the person you chose to live your life with eat, it so repulses you. You can't watch them eat. You don't want to hear them speak. You're just looking for the exit constantly. I just learned, let it go and move on, as the song says. But some things happened.
He's talking about the song from Sunday in the Park with George, not Frozen.
That's what I thought.
Oh, no. Frozen yogurt?
No,
It's
there's
different
a song called
Frozen.
Let It Go from a movie.
No, it's called Move. So, but the key thing that I feel has changed is time and what it means. And Kathryn would, like she said, be in a rage if you tried to give her a seat on the subway and, things that had to do with age or whatever. But she has stopped obsessing and screaming about aging and being terrified. What's changed is she's not worrying about time like she used to. She recognizes it is moving way too fast. And if we commiserate about it and worry about it and complain about it, we're going to miss a lot.
Yeah.
And that has changed exponentially. And I'm so grateful that we've accepted that we're older and there's such benefits to it. So we're always saying to each other, if you could be whatever age, what age would you be? And I would say, well, I'd be 25, the age I was when I met you, only if I could know what I know now. You take away what I know now, all bets are off.
Talk to me. Well, you're looking skeptical.
No, it's completely different response. I'm just listening to this, seeing what parts of it I identify with or not. I mean, the question was, what has changed over the years, David? And first of all, it's all the things you don't know. You know, it's are you going to be able to have children? Are you going to be a good parent? Are you going to still be able to work? Are we going to be able to make a living? Do you know? And it's also, I think, at the beginning of the relationship, you make a lot of assumptions about commonalities because there were certain things that drew you together.
Right.
And you make big assumptions about what those things are. And then when you commit to each other, you discover, I'm a social person. He is not a social person. Do you know? I love people. He is more.
You like some people.
You like some people. I was going
Name
to say.
them.
I was going to say
Maureen?
selective.
Okay, one.
You know.
Maureen's nice.
More selective.
Rosemary,
You know,
Ellen,
yeah.
Rosemary, Ellen.
Bill,
Okay.
Scott.
But you like them
Okay.
in the abstract.
They all
Yeah.
got in the article. Look at
Yeah,
that.
really. You know, so I think the
Well, I'm sorry.
What?
I didn't hear
the
you
inherent
talking.
tension of not knowing, you know, all of those things brings out the best and worst in you, you know. And I mean, it was very funny. Recently, we were talking about when the kids were little, and I mentioned that when he was 4 days old, and our older son was 4, Mandy came to Central Park. We had a birthday party for the 4-year-old, and then kissed us goodbye and went to Europe for several months to do Princess Bride. So we were talking about it, and I was alone with the 4-day-old, and Mandy went, I would never have done that. That didn't happen. I said, honey, who you are now wouldn't have done it. But who you were then, yes, you did that. No, Kathryn, that's not. And I had to go back and.
So yeah, that could be fact checked pretty easily.
Yeah.
But you
The
came
movie
pretty quickly
exists.
with
I
the
came
children.
when he was 3 months old, honey.
Right.
So you didn't see him for 3 months. And when we
and I'm
arrived.
still sore about it.
Yeah.
Wait, Gideon, have you seen a change in your parents' relationship?
Yeah, totally. I mean, in their troubled times, there was a period when they split up, and I was a teenager, I think.
16.
Yeah, that I was sort of at a certain point happy for them. I was like, these are two people who were so enmeshed and codependent, and like might be having an experience in their adulthood where they could get to discover who they are without the other, and that could be really great for both of them in different ways. And then I saw two people who were trying to separate, completely incapable of being away from the other. And I remember thinking as they were getting back together, like, oh, I just kind of gotten used to the idea of them being part. I was like kind of excited for how they'd develop in ways that maybe they couldn't while stuck together. But that was a long time ago.
And we haven't developed at all.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I've gotten to see two Michigan people, you know, stick it out for better and worse. And, you know, that's a beautiful thing.
Kathryn, you were going to
That's what
say
I was
something?
going to say. One of the bigger things is, I think in the initial coming together of a relationship, you assume you're one person, which is a big error. You know, I never understood that settling down thing. You know, I thought of dust mites when you shake a blanket. It's like who he is, who I am, and who we are as a couple. And I think it takes a long time to figure out that you have permission to be your totally different selves and who you are as a couple. And so I would always, you know, I understand I would try and fix what ailed him for years, which just usually had the opposite effect of making things worse. And I would also try and talk him into, you know,
Yeah.
things that I wanted him to be at.
And
now,
so you're doing that less.
and I do it a lot less. I just say whatever you need to do. And if he has permission to do whatever he needs to do, he most often shows up than not. So it is not being threatened by the fact that you're two really different people that have chosen to share a life and make family together. But there's...
Mandy, you have something to add.
Yeah, two things.
You're grimacing.
Bring me back to the word fix, but also I want to talk about your question, being together. I wish for everyone to have a companion to go through life with, to do nothing with, to have in the other room, to just think about calling. You don't have to be married. I don't care what the circumstances are, but someone. When you meet that someone, if you're lucky, which many people are, and you feel that something that you cannot put into words, that is what you should hope and pray for and be available to the possibility of that taking place in your existence. And the thank God part of that is when the shit hits the fan, and in every relationship, if it's worth its salt, it will hit the fan. You will reflect on that moment in the beginning of Hello, where you couldn't put into words what you felt about that person. And that is the gold. The other word you hit on that I heard, I think Kathryn said it, was fix.
Fix, yeah.
The word fix. And my teacher for the past, since about 2005 or 6, started teaching me the Buddhist idea of stay in the moment and don't be in the past or the future, and don't try to fix what's wrong. You know, you fix things in every imaginable way. You drink it, you drink yourself, you eat yourself, you divorce, you run away, fix, as opposed to staying in that discomfort. One of my favorite things was with little babies, when they fall down, you say, let me kiss it and make it go away. Don't make it go away. Kiss it if you want to, but it doesn't have to go away. It hurts. It's okay. And I just think the whole world would be better if we learned to stay with our discomfort, learn to live with it. Stop running away. Stop trying to fix everything. And I could go on, but that's
you know,
one thing.
You made me emotional.
I somehow wanted to just, because that's a teaching of my life. If I was on my deathbed and you said anything last thing other than love to the kids and grandkids and Kathryn, I would try to communicate this idea of just be in this moment.
Oh, Kathryn, go ahead.
No, go ahead, kid. You.
Whenever David has.
You know, I can sum up a huge difference just occurs to me.
Yes, go for it.
Mandy
and
is-
then I do have another question.
Sometimes interviewers with these two just need to ask one question.
Yeah, really.
But yeah.
No, it's just very funny. I used to want to share my feelings about politics, about a book I read, about an article, about a person, and it would drive him crazy. And he would say, "I just want you to be a person a body in the other room," and I would be furious. A body in the other room. Get one of those dolls they have in
Which we looked into.
Yeah. And now it's just so funny. I found that so insulting in the beginning of our relationship.
It sounds dehumanizing.
Just dehumanizing and not seeing me and my needs and screw you. Now, I know what that means. The comfort of just having somebody you know really well, there's company there, and we're sharing the same space, but very comfortably being each other's body in the other room and knowing we're there.
This is sort of a difficult question, but but you know, all three of you are I was about to say obviously, but I don't want to assume anything. But you're Jewish,
Yes.
and you are also sort of politically active in your way, including on social media, and you know, you talk about your hope for a ceasefire in Gaza and the tragedy of that situation, and then you know that's on sort of one side, and then you know also just by nature of being Jewish at this moment in history, the anti-Semitism is obviously heightened right now. It can be a conflicting set of feelings for Jewish people. I'm Jewish also, and I just wonder, are you thinking or feeling any differently about what it means for you to be Jewish in this moment?
Yes, I am. I'll let them go first.
I hate the way some people are using anti-Semitism
Claim.
as a claim for anybody that is critical about a certain policy. As far as I am concerned, compassion for every person in Gaza, is very Jewish. And the fact that I abhor the policies of the leader of that country does not mean I'm a self-hating Jew or I'm anti-Semitic.
You mean Netanyahu when you say the leader of that country? Yeah.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes. I feel this is the behavior, the politics of what he's doing is the worst thing for Jewish people. It's like lighting a candle for anybody that has any anti-Semitic feelings. It's creating a generation of wounded and hurt kids who will understandably be very angry. So that is how I feel, and I feel, I really feel deeply troubled and horrified by what is happening in my name, because it is the opposite. It's that old hurt people thing. I see people acting the way they supposedly created a place out of the horror of the hatred. So I am very proud of every Jewish person that stands up for the humanity of people in the Middle East, is what I feel.
May I? Do you want to speak first?
Please.
So I'm sitting here praying as I'm listening to Kathryn. I'm asking Hashem, who I like to refer to, and ask for his strength for me to be of service to your question. I'm going to say several things, and if I go all over the place for a minute, I'll try to make sense.
Okay.
I want to take you back for a moment. I came back from Europe after working. We had our firstborn son, Isaac Grody-Patinkin, and he was about this big on my arm. He came to about here. He would suck on my bicep and give me a hickey. And I was asked to sing the Israeli national anthem at One Dag Hammarskjöld Square in front of the UN for a Soviet jewelry rally, I believe. I was on the podium with my baby son. Ed Koch was sitting behind us, and a stranger was next to me. I didn't know who he was, but he had a very distasteful vibe. And I took my baby son and I moved him from my left arm between the stranger and me to my right arm. So my baby would be between Mario Cuomo and me, not between this man. This man got up to speak, and I remembered that he was introduced as the ambassador from Israel to the United Nations. And I remember sitting there because I'd often hear my parents say this phrase on the south side of Chicago in the Jewish community: that's good for the Jews, or that's bad for the Jews. And in my mind, out loud, I heard, that's the definition of what's bad for the Jews. And I didn't know this man. I knew nothing about him. I just knew he was a threat to my child. And later I learned that that man was named Benjamin Netanyahu. And I loved that I had no idea who he was or what his position meant.
You felt the vibes.
I felt it. Then, I don't remember exactly when, I think what age, it was a while ago, 10, 15 years ago. I was in Philadelphia getting ready to do a concert with Patty, my dear friend Patty LaPone. And then I go up to the hotel room. Kathryn was in the hotel room. And the movie, The Princess Bride, was on. She was watching it. And just as I walked in the room is that final scene in the movie where Inigo is sitting by the window with the man in black. And the man in black asks Inigo, would he like to be the next Red Pirate Roberts? And the Inigo Montoya actor, who was me,
I remember,
at 36 years old, I think, it was 1986, do the math, I was born in 52,
34.
said these words, which I did not really know what they meant, that William Goldman wrote, which I think are the singular greatest words I've ever read. And those words are, were, and always will be. You know, I have been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I do not know what to do with the rest of my life. And I ask Jews all over the world to consider what this man, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his right-wing government is doing to the Jewish people all over the world. They are endangering not only the state of Israel, which I care deeply about and want to exist, but they are endangering the Jewish population all over the world. He is the most dangerous thing, not just since October 7th. It has been a deeply troubled situation.
And endangering the Jews by endangering
Yes.
those in
Everybody.
Gaza.
And to watch what is happening for the Jewish people, to allow this to happen to children and civilians of all ages in Gaza, for whatever reason, is unconscionable and unthinkable. And I ask you Jews everywhere, all over the world, to spend some time alone and think, is this acceptable and sustainable? How could it be done to you and your ancestors, and you turn around and you do it to someone else?
Yeah, I appreciate your all of your honesty, but maybe I think I'm going to take a sip of water.
Yeah, just give a moment. Mom.
Yeah, and then we're in whether Jewish, not Jewish, whatever you believe politically or about the world, it does feel like we're living at a moment that's sort of pervasive with uncertainty and despair. But I think it's hugely important, just as a person, as best you can, to not succumb to despair. And I want to know how, where and how you find joy in the world.
Can I chime in?
Yes.
I think one little place I find joy in the world, and that I remind my parents often, is just, being very proud of them when they speak up for things they believe in. And it always feels good to remind them that I'm, always proudest of them when they speak for people who have less power and are being harmed.
And Kathryn?
Yeah.
You have more?
No, that's just a point I want
Put
to
your
make.
arm down, you're blocking.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you find the sources of joy? And
Our grandchildren.
Yeah.
She gets on the floor all
Tell me
day
about
long.
your grandchildren.
It's such a strange thing. I still can't get over that I'm old enough to be a grandmother. I mean, my parents didn't get that gift. And so I am very grateful for it. And the sense of wonder, my granddaughter is 9 months old, but she's just simply, she sees you and she goes, ah. And I remember,
like this.
Yeah, and I remember being out on a deck when a sudden downpour happened. I mean, just, one of those things like God dumped water.
Big water.
And our grandson was 18 months old, and he was there. And his response, David, was just, I mean, he thought it was so extraordinary that this thing was happening. And it was the same thing. I remember walking with him in the fall, and he said, look, Grangie, the leaves are yellow. And I remember thinking, yeah, it's going to be one of those yellow falls. Where's the red? And I stopped myself and went, Jesus, what is with me?
That is your lesson.
That
is your
is my
challenge of this
lesson.
chapter.
This is it.
To notice the yellow leaves.
To notice the yellow leaves and to suck in and drink that wonder and joy. And that is my antidote to grief.
I think you guys find joy still in, the creative practice. I mean, Dad with your, singing, and Mom. I mean, we had an incredible time making this TV pilot together and writing this show, which came out of their incredibly generous willingness to let me and my dear friend and collaborator, Ewan Wright, take their most vulnerable lived experiences and write stories with them and turn them around and say, look, these things that felt painful or embarrassing or useless or a waste of your time or the family's time can actually be like relatable, hilarious, connective tissue for other
And the show
people.
is essentially, I saw the pilot. It's
Oh, you did?
essentially a fictionalized version of your
Yeah, yeah,
relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Source of
There's
joy.
a scene in the pilot where, you two or your characters,
Yeah,
it's like you and your characters, hard to
Don't worry, but we
distinguish.
take responsibility for it.
You have this big argument, and you, Kathryn, have this line that you say to Mandy, where it's something to the effect, it's not always easy because you take up all the space.
Your feelings are so
Your
big.
feelings
Your feelings
Mine
are so
have to
big.
shrink.
Yours have to shrink. How I'm, assuming that you figured out how to work through that problem or manage it. How did you do that?
I think it was a weird trick. It was very easy to avoid my own mishigas because his was so big. And, I once said publicly I was supposed to marry a rock so I could be the lunatic I am, and instead I married a lunatic, so I have to pretend to be a rock. And
Don't forget to say I'm not always.
and he's not always a lunatic at all. And in fact,
came out very
I
naturally.
have my own lunaticness, and I think that I realized at a certain point that I could avoid dealing and improving on my issues. I could avoid it because I was so busy
Yes,
taking care of
and
him.
you do that with your children,
And I
too.
do that with my children.
I've said to you, I said,
Yeah.
Mom, I really also want to be good friends with you, but that involves being able to communicate things that aren't positive in my life. And it's very difficult to do that with you when
Yeah.
you're so ravenous to take your children's problems or anybody else's problems and then blow them up and make them a bigger thing and repeat them to your friends and live in them so that you can avoid your own life.
Yeah.
And I think that's something
Look,
we're
Kathryn-
So
working
that's
on.
an improvement, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I actually had emailed Gideon
Yeah.
maybe last week or something and asked him, because he obviously knows you a lot
Yeah.
better than I do.
He knows us well.
Are there any things that might be interesting to ask your parents that they haven't been asked before? And he very generously sent me a
Wow.
long, pretty long
You
list.
asked.
It was a long list, comprehensive.
You feel free to publish it as a book.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he brought up was that, he's noticed that you, Kathryn, seem to have developed an interest in sort of expanding the mind a little bit. He said that you've got into astrology or learning about string theory. I think the way you put it was, that you, Kathryn, are toying with the idea of taking psychedelic mushrooms. And I want to know, sort of, do you think about the balance between sort of pushing yourself intellectually and emotionally as you get older versus a completely understandable comfort with, just being who you are and kind of settling down, not in a negative way,
Yeah. There's an aspect of this is who I am.
Yeah.
All those questions about will I find love? Will I be a mother? Will I have a career? Those have all been settled. But I don't feel who I am sitting here right now is who I want to be in 10 years or 20 years. I'm so drawn to physics. The concept of one thing being in two places at one time. There was this article in the Atlantic, June of 23, called something about we're all part of the cosmos, but you still have to buy groceries. I cannot tell you, David, my brain is not able to really grok those concepts, but I am so drawn to the description that we're all part of a cosmic hum, that energy really doesn't ever die. I read this article and I said to my director, we were doing a workshop, and I said, I have to put this in tonight. This is the thing about time. It's about time. We don't ever really die. Ovid was right. Whitman, they're all right. It just transforms. And she's just going, what? What are you talking about? And I did try and put it in that night, and it was a complete disaster. But I want not to be afraid to learn new things or change my mind about things. I am very drawn to the idea of microdosing.
You're drawn to
And
the idea of all kinds of dosing. You just haven't crossed over yet.
Yeah, right.
I've learned something that works every time.
which is what?
Oh no, honey, it's not going to work now.
It will work.
No,
Oh
it
my
won't.
God.
Not if I tell you I adore you.
Wait, tell me.
She laughs whenever I say I adore her. She can't stop laughing when I say
Stupid.
I
Were you going
adore
to say
you.
something else?
No, I want to just tell her I adore you. Anytime I say I
okay.
adore you, she starts laughing.
Right? It's just a very funny thing.
But
Why do you think that is?
Because, honey, the word does not accurately describe your feelings toward me on a 24-hour basis.
So, Mandy, how do you think about, sort of at your age, balancing, still wanting to grow and learn new things and change
Yes.
versus,
This is it.
an understandable inclination maybe to just rest in who you are?
Resting in who I am will bore the shit out of me and dissatisfy me. I have so much growth to do. I came to puberty very late. Mark Freifeld in the 6th or 7th grade said, "What's the matter, Patinkin? You don't have any pubic hair yet?" Well, I've just
I
tried
thought you were
to...
speaking metaphorically at first.
Yeah,
No,
really.
You meant that literally.
I
He's a
tried to get
literal
back
guy.
at Mark Freifeld forever because I was late to everything. And I'm late to being a human being and growing up and changing. I struggle continuously with panic attacks, with anxiety, with trying to live that lesson of being in the moment and not going back and not going forward, but being right here. And I want to get better at it before it's over.
And you've gotten so much better at it. You have that shit under control in a way that you can't see or understand because you live with it. But those around you see a person who has learned that part of themselves and learned to manage it and learn to deal with it.
Thank you.
Beautifully.
Thank you. But when, oh gosh, where was I going? Oh, but Kathryn sometimes, and she's gotten so much better at it since all the changes have gone on in the world. She'll go to sleep reading every difficult article, dark stuff, every podcast, and then she goes to sleep crying, crying, and she wakes up with me. So I'm the first one who hears the tears and needs to be held and everything. And we're begging her as a family, please stop reading everything. Please stop listening to the podcast. Please put other things in your way. It's an addiction that she works very hard at trying to break.
I mean, she's not alone.
She's not alone.
The world
addiction.
over.
But there are moments that are going on in this world, in this life, at this moment, globally, home, everywhere, in our personal lives, in every aspect, that put me in the reverse gravity chair the other day. And I'm upside down with my head back, and I'm weeping for maybe 35, 45 minutes. And Kathryn, and I couldn't control it. I just couldn't hold on anymore. But she just sat next to me, didn't say a word, and just held my hand. And I started to get it together, and then it would come again. The floods would come again. And she just held my hand till we were done. And then we went to the kitchen, I think, and we had more of her number one dish, which was rice and vegetables that you have to put on so much dish and special sauce that Gideon brings to make it taste like something. But we made it through it, and I believe there's so much good ahead. Go ahead, ask the next question. I don't know.
You pretty clearly let it all hang out and do it in public. Is there anything that you think that you would like people to know about the Patinkin Grody family that maybe they don't already?
We've given up on boundaries.
No, we'd like to take things back. They
Yeah,
know
we'd like to take
they know too much.
They do know. Yeah, I believe in boundaries actually.
I
between
do,
public
too.
and
I was
private,
kidding.
But it's very, we just stretch them.
After the break, I get more quality time with the Grody-Patinkin family. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so Mandy and Kathryn, where are you?
We are in upstate New York at the place we've had since our older son was 2. And we came very, very periodically because of our unpredictable schedules. And then in the pandemic, this is where we came to wade that out. I am a deeply urban person, so I'm still adjusting.
Gideon, where are you? Are you at home?
No, I'm in a big artists collective studio in Jersey City.
What are you doing there, kid?
I am doing a variety of things.
That is a child's answer to a parent if I ever heard one. Thank you.
There you go. Always undercover.
Wait, so when we spoke last time, I had asked if there are things that are kind of off limits for the public, and you said there are boundaries. So without being specific, or where are your boundaries for what you'll share with the public?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gid.
It's a good question. I think you guys would stay. I find that you often put up a boundary for yourself, and as soon as you claim there's something or a space you don't want to share or talk about, you might enter into that space. But it's about knowing that you can feel you don't have to talk about anything that allows you to talk about more than you'd expect. Would you agree?
No photographs or videos of our grandchildren is
Or
certainly
names.
one. Well, sometimes we say name. I think we have, but no videos. That's one thing, and just an endless list of all the things that are deeply personal and deeply private in both our personal lives, our family lives with our children, our lives individually,
Professional.
the professional things. The list is everything that everybody has on their list, things that are just too private. It seems like we'll talk about anything, but we're very selective. And the beauty, which we do not have the luxury of while we talk to you, is when we do social media or anything, social media particularly, Gideon is also the editor, not just the interviewer. And that gives a great sense of safety.
It's respecting the privacy. We've been very open about what we call our troubles, our true separations, years ago. But I'm not going into the specifics of that. The only people that need to know about is me and him, and what we want to share with our kids. So that's an area. I once did a play years ago at the public called Falling Apart Together, because I was frustrated with people being together for 2 years, separating, have another marriage for 2 years, separating. And I wanted to show how a family could go through wonderful things, horrible things, and then enfold all of that in their story. And I was insensitive. I used my kids' real names because I was advised to. I thought they were years away from how I was portraying them. And I really learned a lesson, David, about respecting my sense of my privacy about my life is one thing, but I really have to respect what they feel comfortable sharing and not sharing.
Kathryn, you did talk about this idea of I think the way you put it was lunatics and rocks, and how you're sort of maybe more naturally a lunatic, but you kind of had to be a rock. How did you learn to be a rock?
God, David, you ask really good questions. I think I love this guy a lot, and I really needed my family to be an intact family because my parents died when I was 25, and I think I didn't realize how much that impacted me in terms of family. Separation was kind of death, and I honestly think, even though I have lunatic qualities, I am also, even though I find it boring, I'm kind of a rock. I kind of naturally am a rock.
You're a pretty rock.
Thank you.
I mean, therapy helps.
Oh, yeah. Therapy helps. And having to be where your kids need you to be. They gave a structure. That was sort of a rock-like place, too.
Gideon, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
You from our brief time together, you sure seem like a rock. Do you,
thank you.
Do you have any lunatic in you?
He was talking to me.
Oh. That's actually true. Gideon, our sons are more rocks than either of us could ever be.
Let Gideon answer the question.
Okay.
He's asking, do I have any lunatic in me? I mean, my family would probably have a different response to this question, as would my partner. But I think I definitely get very like hot and tense inside, but I think that's in part a result of having like very emotional parents and a very emotional like father, and maybe countering that. So I think most of my lunatic is tight and contained within me. Maybe that's the toxic masculinity influence. Who knows?
Mandy, I read about this kind of incredibly intense formative experience you had in your family as a young man, where your father was ill with cancer, and then for some reasons, your family decided not to tell your father that it was cancer, that it was terminal, and that you sort of all engaged in this deception in the hopes of not crushing his spirit, and you found that experience kind of so difficult or distasteful that as a result, like you had a real hunger and yearning for the truth moving forward. You only wanted honesty, and I would be very surprised if sort of your own family dynamic, the four of you, including your other son, involved something quite as intense as that. But do you think there is sort of a kind of like a Rosetta Stone incident for the family, or
Can you define what a Rosetta Stone incident is?
just something that explains the dynamics of the family?
Well, I can only explain it through the window of my existence. You are correct. It was one of, if not the singular most formative event that took place in my younger years. That the truth means everything to me, almost to a fault, because I feel that I don't deserve to live if I do a take while I'm making a movie with Elmo, and my concentration failed while I was talking to Elmo, and I'm back in my trailer literally thinking about calling my therapist because I failed Elmo. And that's to the degree of what I'm dealing with here. And I remember Kathryn had said to me when we first met, right off the bat, I can't remember the exact phrase, honey, I know you'll correct me, but if it was like if I wandered from the nest and flirted with somebody or kissed somebody or whatever, that she needed to know. I had to tell her. I couldn't keep that secret. And when I didn't tell my father the truth that he had cancer, because my mother and his two elder sisters and the doctor and everybody who was the grown-up to 18-year-old Mandy said, you mustn't tell Daddy because he had an earlier accident where he broke his neck and it was very traumatic for him when he was like 17. And if you tell him he has cancer, he'll probably take his life. So I put myself in the position to do what the grown-up said, and I never got to sit with my father to tell him the truth of his condition. And when we lied to him and told him he had hepatitis, my father was not a fucking idiot. He knew he didn't have hepatitis in 5 seconds, and we never got that moment.
Wow.
And you don't get it back. And I'll never forgive myself for it. And the way I deal with it is I try to be truthful to you, to my wife, to my son, to my audience, and to the world. And it is not hard. It is not hard to be truthful.
I never heard that about Grandpa. I never heard that you guys told him he had hepatitis. I didn't know that was part of that story.
But I told you a million times, but maybe you didn't, maybe I didn't. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I wish to God I could answer any of your questions without getting so intense. I don't know how to do it. I wish I could. So,
Wait, Gideon, maybe you you could help me bring this question home.
let me get out the fire.
I mean, the truth,
do you just in your own memory, is there, sort of a moment that you think kind of encapsulates what your family is about?
No, I think we're just as messy and complex and contradictory as like any other family that's trying to get along, trying to understand ourselves and each other. And kind of the pathway, I think, eh, towards having more peace and less misunderstanding is like trying to talk to each other about our shit when we have problems with each other. I don't think there's a singular moment. I don't think there's a singular saying. I think it's just a big, swirling, beautiful mess.
I want to thank all three of you for letting me and our audience sit with you in your various feelings of discomfort and comfort and being a family. So thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
When's the next session, David?
Well, then I start charging.